Hey, Deadflip, how you doing? That's nice that you're joining here to my small stream. Awesome. Welcome. Yeah, so welcome everybody. I'm Jan. Yeah, and yeah, good to see you too. So yeah, awesome. I will, yeah, today I will talk a little bit about software. So I got some new hardware here, but it's not totally working, so I will show that next time. Today I will talk about segment displays and how you could use them in your machine. Also, how you can use them virtually, so without hardware, because we got some new stuff in MPF 55, and I will show you that, and yeah, we can have a little bit of fun with that. Let me just start my MPF machine here. And it should also no. Let me put it to the correct location. Yeah, on the right you can see it. It will also show messages like this. It will show like the messages from the chat on the segment display and on the DMD as a small teaser before we get into that later. So that's what we will look at later. But let's start in the beginning and yeah, what are we talking today about? What are we talking about today? So that's basically yeah, it cannot do like small. I mean, it can do small letters, but they do not look as great as large letters. Um, so yeah, we are talking about what are segment displays. If you made it here, you probably know, but I will show it anyway for people watching it later, which might not be familiar with it, and where they are used and how they can be used. And then like which types of segment display exist. That's more than you think. And then like how would you control this in your pinball machine, and what hardware can you use, how does it work, and so on. And at the end we will like look at my machine, basically the one which is running below here, and yeah, how this works, how you can like animate stuff and so on. Yeah, like we have been supporting segment displays for quite some time in MPF, and we got some support for it, or we had some support for like, I don't know, starting in 52 or something, like 2 years ago. But recently we got support for RGB segment displays and for animations, which is super cool. And I will show you that later. So let's start, and basically what can tell you more than pictures? It's nothing can tell you more than pictures. And like on the left, you see like Bride of Pinboard, and that's basically like a machine from the 90s. And there they used segment displays, like where we then later had DMD displays, and today got LCD displays. And that's one way where you can use them. Like yeah, if you want, you can for texts. They got some animations. If you want like a retro machine, that might be it for you. And like on more modern machines, some like a TNA, like Total Nuclear Annihilation from Scott Denisi, they also use like segment displays for the score for the player scores. That's like here, it's first player, second player, third, fourth player. And yeah, I mean that's basically what they did like in the end of the 80s, something. After they switched from like those score reels to like digital displays. So that's, you see that in like quite a lot of older machines, like EM machines, solid state machines. And yeah, if you like want to have a retro machine, you can use that too. So that's basically what it is. So nothing more than that. So what segments exist? So this is basically the three most common ones. The left one is like the 16 segment display, and the middle one is 14 segment, and the right one is 7 segment displays. They are called. So if you look like at the left and the middle, the left has like all those. So basically, it has the top light separated into A and B, where it has been only A and in 14 segments, and same for the bottom one. So like some letters, I mean, yeah, some letters look nicer, while for numbers it obviously doesn't matter. But you can have like a little bit more like alphanumeric stuff on the 16 segment displays than on the 14 segments. Then there's often a dot. It might be not in all positions on your display, but often there are dots in some positions, and those do not count in the 14 or 16. They are separate. But yeah, so that's basically the most common if you want to have fancy displays. And then like the 7 segment is the right one, which is like commonly used like in your washing machine or dishwasher or somewhere. And that's like, yeah, it's the most basic one. I got one here, for example. So this is how they look. And they got a few connectors back here. That's the very simple like 7 segment displays, and then there's also the dot, and now you've got like eight numbers. I mean that's more, right? It's A, B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, no, it's 7 plus the dot 8. And now you would say that that's it, but then there's also BCD, and you might hear that from time to time. In this, for example, this display, that's also a BCD controlled display. And if you just count, I probably cannot see it that easily on this camera. There are not so many connectors, like there are few. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2 times 6, so it's 12 connectors only. And now we got like 4 segments with like 8 LEDs each with a dot, right? So that's less connectors than dots. And now you're wondering how does that work? And this display does not have any chips in it. Does not have any logic. And this is how this is typically done. So this is actually the data sheet from this display. And that's two things you have to acknowledge here. So the first thing is this is multiplexed. So you see here like 4 digits. So that's those 4 digits. Left, middle, second from the right, second and the right one, right? And that's like the digits you see here on the screen. And they got like 8 inputs on the bottom, but they also got like 1 input on the top. And that's because typically those are driven for like you set the inputs for this one, and you flash the first the first output here. That's like 12, and then your next one, and now you flash 9, and then this one, and then you flash 8, and here, and now you flash 6. So you run them like sequentially. So they are called multiplex displays, and that's something. And this has to be relatively fast, otherwise you would see it as a human. Sometimes if you go like this in front of a display, you actually notice it. So that's very, very common. That's done almost all the time. And then those are often like BCD encoded. That's not what is shown here, and that's not actually not here the case on this one. But if you got a BCD encoded display, then you just need 4 inputs. 4 inputs for all those 8 for all 8 lights on one segment. But that also limits you to just the numbers. So that's just 4 bytes. You can encode like 16 states, and that gives you just like the numbers, and then I think usually A to F. They put in some more stuff. But that's sometimes also the case. If you want to do a custom controller, you have to probably deal with BCD. So that's something just as a background how this works technically. If you got questions, let me know. We can look into that. But if you want to use it in your pinball, I got good news for you. There are a lot of options, and this is basically what we got in the Mission Pinball framework. That's first like the My Pinball segment display controller, which is a really simple controller which interfaces like existing segment displays, which you can buy either new or as replacement from existing machines. And then relatively new but good availability is the TNA. From the newer TNA version, there's like a display which you can buy. And from Pinball Live, that's like it's 4 displays, and each of them I think with 7 segments. So that's well available. It's not very expensive, so that would be something you could use if you want like a display. And the P-Rock, not the P3 Rock, but the P-Rock, the old one, has like an aux output where you could drive existing alphanumeric displays. That's available if you got a P-Rock, especially if you want to interface an old machine or an existing machine. Then Lissy, that's also a platform, and MPF supports all kinds of displays. So really like from existing ones to displays which are like replacement displays, right? You can even have alphanumeric displays and all the kinds I just showed. With and without, they support everything. I think they actually really support all kinds we know in MPF. So that would be an option, relatively inexpensive, but it's a do-it-yourself solution, so you have to solder it and build it yourself. I also built one. It's not very hard. A lot of DIL parts, so where you go through the PCB, it's easy to solder, and so that's well available. Then Fast has an RGB segment display PCB, just like, I mean, you can probably not yet buy it, but like some people in the community have it as a prototype. I'm not sure when it will be available, so maybe the end of this year somewhere. And I also don't know how much it will cost, but it's an RGB segment display, and that's nice actually. So every segment, every LED is RGB in the segment display. I mean, in MPF, it's like you can set colors per digit, so like all LEDs of 1 digit. But theoretically, this display can, I think, I'm not sure, I do not have it, but I think it can do it like per actual light, so you can have crazy light shows on your display if you want. And it's supported in MPF, like Eli did the code for it, and yeah, when it will be available, then it might be a great option. And finally, we got one more thing in Apple style. You can also control this one as MPF if you want, basically using light segment displays, how we call it. And that basically is you define, you use any lights which any of your platforms can control, like your P3 Rock, your Fast, your Fade Candy, doesn't matter, any platform will do. And then you just tell MPF, well, this is A, this is B, this is C, and so on. And you map all the lights, and MPF will then spread your lights as if they were like a segment display. And this way you could, for example, connect this display up to like some direct LED driver, like the PD LED, or to like some WS28 chips, and then connect it to MPF, and it will just behave like a normal segment display because it is a segment display. You can also like build your own giant size segment, whatever you like. Like everything is possible. And this is especially nice with like serial LEDs. And there are actually like those kind of segments as serial LEDs, so that you can just chain the segments, and then you have like this size, the segment display if you want, and MPF can just control it. So that might also be an option. It can also do like BCD encoding, so MPF can do like this encoding stuff, and it can directly interface this one via parallel LEDs. It cannot yet do like multiplex stuff like this one, but as I got this one now, I mean that's like 40 cents, I want to add that. So like I'm not sure if we will be fast enough on all platforms, but I guess on most platforms it should be fast enough to update like 7 to maybe 10 segments or something in parallel. So that might be available soon. And that's already what I wanted to tell you theoretically. And next thing would be like a demo on what we got here. And for that, let me switch over here to my IDE. So you got like this DMD window, and I will just drag it here so that you can see it. So I built like an MPF machine, which is currently connected to the Twitch chat. So if you write anything, it will show it here. And how this works is basically first you define a segment display, and that's relatively easy. You just say segment displays, you give it a number. This number is usually the number from your hardware platform. So like if you got, I mean, your hardware platform documentation will tell you which number to use here. Since I'm using a virtual display like this one, it's just one, it's arbitrary. And we can define a few things here. For example, like we can set, hey Cobra, how you doing? Exactly, that's how it works. And we can like set the size, and it's like it's 7 here. I think 7 is also the default. Yeah, it tells me that 7 is the same as the default. That's why I didn't provide it. I can do stuff like integrated commas, integrated dots. That's important for like for optical reasons. Usually you want your dots to be integrated. They will be like, it will use this, like it will use like A here, A, and then a dot here. So like if I do like test dot, it should put the dot in the same, as you can see here, the same segment as the T. Otherwise it wouldn't do that, right? And yeah, like I can do the same with commas. I think I disabled that. And it's also like a feature which is not available in most segment displays. So in virtual ones like this one, obviously we can do that, but in real ones, I don't know any real ones which have commas, but I think some Gottlieb had it actually. And I know that Quinn is building a segment display hardware which has commas, so that's also cool. We do not support it everywhere in MPF yet, but that will happen soon, I think, especially as Quinn is working on it. And then we got like a feature which is called virtual segment. Yeah. System 11. Okay, Quinn is here, so he knows. Hi, Quinn. Like test. I don't know what happens now. Yeah, that's actually how it maps a comma now, because I disabled that. So that's kind of a comma. It's not as nice. Yeah, and what Pinball is actually this one. So it's a virtual segment display connector. It sounds crazy, but what it does is it tells MPF to send this display. So it's like display 1. It actually knows which one it is. Send this to the MPF media controller. And in the media controller, I now put, like, this is basically the slide I'm showing here. So first you can see like that's the DMD on top, that's this one. And then the text, that's like the segment on top. And here that's like a new widget. It's called segment display emulator. And that thingy is super nice because it emulates segment displays. And now I set mine to 14 segments. You can see that this one is not like interrupted here. It's just one segment. 7 segments, and there's like a lot of stuff for how they should look visually. So with this, you can actually also like put an LCD in your back glass or in your back box and have like a virtual segment display on your LCD back box. And that's also like a nice option for economical reasons, for example. So why not? It's nice, it's available, and for me it's even better because this gives me an option to develop like virtually and later run it on real hardware as well if I want, like on a real segment display. So you got like all the options, and here you can see that I disabled the comma and enabled the dot, and yeah, that's like the size. And also put like a rectangle behind it that makes this nice gray border. But that's just for optical reasons. And that's already it. So now I can like press some stuff here, some buttons which I map to events, and they show you all the stuff which can happen here, even with colors, as you can see. And it can do like cool animations. And this works the following way. Using the new segment display player. In the segment display player, if you know MPF, players are like config blocks which react on events or even on show steps, but that's basically also reacting on some event somehow. Yeah, that's unreadable display. And basically those react on events and they can then show like a text. So the main feature is like putting a text here. You can also give it a color. For example, like if I press 1, red, and you can have like transitions in. That's like the push transition, where like it pushes the text out or in. Depends on what it is, right? It can also have like a transition out. And this can have a direction. And yeah, same. So the interface is similar to like the widget player, if you know that. So it can like expire, for example. That's very useful. That's what you're seeing here, for example. Yeah, like Cobra wanted to know if it's different to add like a 16 segment display for the virtual segment display. And Quinn, as expected, said it's easy. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if you're using like the mappings we got, Quinn. So we got like this segment mappings here. It's basically one class which does the mappings for everything. They got like BCD mappings. It can map 7 segments. It can map 14 segments. It can map 16 segments, and it can map ASCII. So not sure if you're using that or if you're using something else. Yeah, and then there's like 16 segments. And Bogdag wants to know if we can do 10 segments. What's 10 segments? Is that real? Is that a thing? Or is it just, I don't know. Probably if I Google it, there will be 10 segments. Really? They got 10 segments? Crazy. So like this is basically a mapping for everything, so most of that is coming from some GitHub repository. There's like a repository where somebody made a lot of effort to have like map like an L or like a Y here. So they really mapped all the characters so that like that everything looks as good as it can. It's hand tuned in a lot of ways, and we generated those mappings based on like that GitHub repository. So we changed some stuff, but in generally that's generated from them using a script. So here you can see where it came from. So thanks to eMedicine. Let's see how it's called. Give him a shout out. It's Dave Madison. So Dave Madison did this awesome like GitHub repository where we got all those mappings from. So that's super cool. And yeah, that's super helpful because mapping this by hand is just painful. And yeah, that's you can see how they are mapped. And you just need to do a diagram of the segment layout. Ah, okay, cool. How do you overwrite them? Okay, that's so. You mean you can have arbitrary mappings, or you can have like you want to change single characters here? But I mean, we can also add some, for example. I can do either. Okay, nice. But those are nice. So if you get, especially for large characters or for uppercase characters, they look really nice. And for lowercase, I mean, for example, for the Y, you can see that they made some effort to make them distinguishable, right? So like a small Y looks a little bit different than a large Y at least. So, and a small Z, yeah, it's not nice, but it's recognizable, right? So, yeah, it's super nice. I love it personally. And now you have to see like the cool like effects again. So there are like I think six or 5 or 6 different animations which you can have. That's like push, like where it can push it in. It can have like a push from both directions. It can cover it, so the text stays there and the other thing goes on top. It can uncover, so the current text moves away and uncovers the new one basically. And we can have like a wipe where it the current one stays there, the other one goes over. And we have like a split where the other one goes away to the sides. So that's super nice. I made a 10 segment front. I used unknown window. Thanks, Dropbox. So that's the mapping. Yeah. Okay, I saw that. So basically it's like 7 segments, but they got like the middle bar, right? So like it was the line in the middle with 2 more dots, and they separated the horizontal line, right? So that's the changes they did. So okay, I saw that. So I guess that it wouldn't be an issue to map that. And if you want to use that with like the light segments display, that would be also easy to add. And I guess the lazy guys, if you ask them, they will say, well, yeah, no problem. We can also control those displays. And I'm certain that they say exactly that. So yeah, it's nice. I would just save this window and we'll edit later. The tests in the MC have an example that creates some special characters that are added to the character map. That's nice. I mean, if you want to have like more characters in MPF, also feel free to add them here, right? So like for BCD, there's not much which we can add. So that's all you can map. But for like everything else, you can see we got like mappings for some special characters like brackets or so on. But there probably can be done, more can be done, I guess. So like that would be something which would help everybody, not just you. And here, like, can you see that at all? Probably. Here you can have even a little bit more on 14 I mean on 16 segments you should have like the most possible ones, like those crazy characters. Yeah, so that's super nice. Okay, from Taxi, I know that Taxi has really like some crazy animations, right? So like with special characters. And maybe we also like want to add a way in the segment display player where we can like put in arbitrary mappings, right? So you can just say this segment, this, and this, and this, and then have like animate that. I guess that might be something which would be worth it, I guess. And I mean, we can totally do it. Doesn't have to. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be like characters, right? We could also do like something where you could put something like this here. So mapping and then put like A true, B true, C false, and so on. I mean, theoretically, we could even put like a color here. We could like put this red, this blue, and this off, and it would be green, and so on. I mean, this could also be like a way to like map this character, like, or this segment, and it might not be supported by all platforms. I mean, if the platform does not support like the colors, then it would be then it would be off, or then it would be just on, right? Be a nice platform independent way to do custom mappings, yeah. Then the only thing here would be like if you say like if you put this mapping, then it would be hard to change like the display type, right? So we would actually have to put the display type into the segment display itself, because currently this is like it's like independent. It doesn't know if it's 14, 16, whatever segments, and then we would, I guess we would like to have to define it here, but that wouldn't be that bad because I mean we do it in any platform. We do it in the emulator here, so probably would be a good idea to put that here into like the segment display itself, and then we could have like mappings which I just lost somewhere here. Would have mappings like that, which would be like really long for for 16 segments, but yeah, it would work. Gottlieb used this basically as an 8 segment. Yeah, right. So they basically they split the middle one and they added those two. So yeah, I guess we can totally add that. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and no name. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So maybe H1, H2, and G1, G2. But they have to have some name. Otherwise, it would be a mess. So yeah, probably. I look at the other one. They definitely can be controlled independently. Can they? Or at least Can they be controlled independently, this and this one, or is it always both? Because like here, they are always both on, right? So because there will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Would be just 8 segments, not 10. I'm confused now. Okay, but they still call it 10 segments, even if it's just 8. I mean, it's just 7 segments with an 8th one. But I mean, we can have it either way. So we can have 10 segments, we can have 8 segments. We don't care. We can have everything if we want. So that's interesting. Yeah. Okay. Good. Well, let's put the Gottlieb mapping in then, and have like I mean, we can turn like 7 segment into 8 segments. It's a little bit of copy and paste from 7 here to 8. We would just have to add the age for all of them, and have to see which one we want to have mapped differently. Yeah, that's cool. I will add that to my list of things to do. But it's nice to have that much like interest in segment displays, even if it's like even older than DMDs. Yeah, that's nice. So thanks, Quinn, for that. So I will have the mappings to MPF, and I don't know. I guess it makes no sense to have like the 10 segments, just 8 segments if there's no hardware for like 10. Then like let's call them 8 segment then. And yeah, that's great. That's a lot of stuff. I learned something today. That's awesome. So yeah, I mean, you saw like this stuff now. What I didn't show you yet is like how you can map multiple colors. That's like this one here. So for like test event 8, that's if I press 8 here, that's how it looks. With a wipe transition, there we basically map like each segment to a different color. So E is red, V is white, E is red again, N is white, E is red, and 8 is white again. So that's how it looks. And as I miscounted, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 should be, it's off by 1 for some reason. Interesting. You have to look into that. On a bug, I guess. I mean, it should be like it should start with red. So if you provide less colors than what MPF needs, it will take the last color and just use that again. And for some reason, it probably colors like the empty text here. So it shouldn't do that, in my opinion. Yeah, I think it. Yeah, maybe it's probably a bug. So I mean, this code is under development, and there are some more bugs. We found just a few today. So I did the same here, like on event 5, and that's a little bit more colorful, and the same thing happens. So yeah, probably some off by 1 bug or alignment bugs. But that's something we will like figure out and fix until like 55 is released. For running lights as displays, it seems like it wouldn't overwrite segments, so it was just adding letters on top of each other. You mean now here on my display or anywhere else? So here, like on every event, I got like a different animation, and there's like this cover animation. That's basically where it covers the text over the other one. And for like example, event 1, it will push the text out. So if I put pioneer testing, I mean, I know that there's some bugs, definitely some bugs. So this basically, you can see like how it pushes the other one out. Currently, like there's also not yet like a setting for the animation speed. You can just set the global animation speed for all animations, and that will be also something which we will be adding in the next days or somewhere. And because it should be like a little bit more like you would do it with widgets on slides. So the interface should be similar. I mean, obviously it's not that you can position those texts, but I mean, if it's on, I mean, previously, not sure. I mean, before the recent changes, it might be the case. Not sure what would happen. I think it would just overwrite the text, but might also be buggy at some points. So now it can do like, for example, this, where the text goes over, and you can have like this animations. That's from the right. So they're relatively fast now here, but I guess you can get the idea what happens. It's, for example, the push animation or the push transition. And they can also like have a transition when they are removed or when they expire. Currently, there are some bugs around that, but we will like figure that out for sure. And then hopefully it will just work how you want to have it. Can you do brightness or will it obey light calibration? For the light segment display, it will like use whatever you configure on your lights. So that would work there. In other segment display hardware platforms, there's sometimes like a brightness setting, and then it will use that one. So it's platform specific, I would say. It's not like that we got a general brightness for all of them. I guess we could add one. Yeah, we could add one for the colors, right? I mean, because either those are like one color only, and then they probably do not have controlled brightness, so we can only turn them off or on. And for the RGB platforms, I guess that they might have like a brightness as well, but I'm not actually sure that like I do not have the fast hardware. And from the commands, it's more like you set the text and you set the color, but I'm not sure if you can set like the brightness. And maybe, probably somehow. But that's actually really up to the platform how they do it. For light segment display, for light segment displays platform, you can definitely set it on your lights. So that would work. But if you need something in the segment display player, we can definitely add that too. That would be easy. Yeah, I mean, you got like expire, you got transition in, transition out. That's it basically, and that's what it should be for most animations, right? You got like some text going in saying you now shoot the orbit, and then it fades out or transitions out again, and you will see your score again, for example, or like on a track some animations. My displays are single color, but white is much brighter than orange. So I want to be able to balance the brightness. Are you talking about like virtual segment displays or like hardware ones? I mean, on the virtual one, you can actually configure that. So there are like a lot of settings here, like the on and the off color, and you can use that to set your brightness. Okay, and you could also have like a shader on top of this if you want. You could, for example, have like a DMD optic on your segment display. That would work. It might look bad, but it would work. But it's basically is this like in the new Open Pinball project Plank for segment displays, or is it something different? Do we support it yet? Or do we need to add support for your hardware? I mean, we can send stuff over if we want to your hardware, but I'm not sure what it actually is. Or is your hardware like RGB, but you only want to use it as orange, or I'm not sure. I'm confused. Okay, it's the WS. Okay, so basically that would be light segment displays, and there you can just set it on your on your lights. So you can have, there are multiple ways to do it. Like you can have like the on color if you want to use on, or you can just set like the brightness here on the segments. Because basically what you would do, like I guess like your segments are like those, but every LED is single color and it's connected to one channel of the WS2811 chip, right? So that 2811 chip, which is normally one RGB LED, it drives 3 of those LEDs. And so we actually have to map them as separate LEDs. That's possible in MPF, not an issue. And then, yeah, like we can send 0 to 255 per LED. And yeah, that would work. And we can have like the global brightness on the lights. So MPF has like, I think it's a light controller. There we got like the color correction profiles and the brightness factor. So like we got this brightness factor which we multiply with all LEDs. And you also can have like multiple brightness factors and have them, I think you can have like, let me check that, lights. Can have like default on color, and it can have a color correction profile, but it looks like that this also, it only applies to all lights at once. So update brightness, that's the brightness factor, and that's probably applied to all lights at the moment. So we might have, you might want to include like a different, like multiple brightness factors then for different lights. So currently it's the same for all of them, and then you would like dim your playfield lights, and I guess that makes sense to dim them all, but you would also do the same for your segments, which would be odd. So we got like color correction profiles, and yeah, I have to look into that. So maybe we can include like the brightness factor into the color correction profile. So you would set like an empty color correction profile with just the brightness factor for your segment display lights. Yeah, you can also do it via color correction profile. Yes, that would also work. But yeah, I mean, yeah, that will work. And yeah, but I'm wondering why we are not having like the brightness factor in here yet, because it would make sense in my opinion. I will just take like an actual note. Now I just need to find a pen to write this stuff down, otherwise I will forget it. And then I will put it into my electronic notes later. In color correction. Yeah, I have to see that we don't break existing machines, but I'm sure we can do it. And then we go to this. and mapping for Gottliebs. And I want to add like segment type on segment displays. Segment type and displays. Yeah, that will make it even greater. Yeah, I mean, as you can probably see, we are like fleshing out like the interface a little bit and making it like really. I mean, it's probably too far-fetched to say production ready, but more like so that you can have like 95% of all typical pinball effects and displays would work out of the box without you even thinking about it. So that's basically the goal that we're currently doing. Like, it's nice that there are so many people at the moment working on segment displays. Partially, probably also because, like, for example, Haggis is doing their new machine with segment displays, as far as I saw from the commercial they posted. And yeah, I mean, Cobra is doing some new like segments, and yeah, apparently there's some interest at the moment, and that's great. That's basically our chance to like really flesh out this interface and make it like a really great interface for everybody. And yeah, I'm grateful for your help and all your input, also, especially because especially like with those kinds of displays, there's so much stuff around on all those old machines that I'm always amazed, like today, that there's something else. And probably there's also even some other type of segments which I forgot and I do not even know about. And hopefully we got like a good abstraction which works for all of those. So that's the goal. So like have an abstraction where we can control all segment displays with color, without color, with dot, with comma, yeah, 7, 8, 14, 16, or even ASCII segments. So like that's what the Lizzie guys added. They have actually ASCII segments, which can do like even more than 16 segments. And we just send the ASCII character to the display, and the display will somehow interpret it. And hopefully we can like have an interface which works for everything, where we can have like animations on any kind of mapping. So that's what has been added like in the background or as internal at recently, because like there are tricky stuffs, like if you got a dot in ASCII characters, that would be a separate character, but if you embed this dot inside a segment, then you have to like calculate the length correctly and even have like the color mappings to the correct locations, because then the dot would no longer be like a custom color and so on. And that is like yeah, that's tricky in some cases, but we got this mostly figured out in the background, and now we're fixing some bugs. But I'm certain that they are not major, because like the design is pretty good, and now we just fix where we got it wrong. So and yeah, so we want to make it work for everybody, for all manufacturers. So if you're a manufacturer and you got something even more crazy, you want it supported, let us know. We can definitely help, and we will help. And yeah, let's just create an interface together which works for everybody, and then we just map it to all the hardware, and everybody has nice displays. And yeah, right. So somebody mentioned that an editor would be nice, right? And was it like Juan? Is it Juan or Juan? Juan, I would say, yes, as a German, knowing a little bit of Spanish. Show creator for segment shows. Yeah, that would be really nice, but that would be like, actually, it has to know all the segments, then it has to know animation steps and so on, right? Yeah, that that would be like a Google Summer of Code project. So maybe that would be something which we could actually do. So as an open source project, we could apply to Google Summer of Code, and then we would basically get an intern, which we would have to mentor, which we totally can do. And then I guess the intern, he or she would actually get paid from Google for doing it. And we could, for example, have him or her build like an editor for segment displays or for anything else. Because like GUI tools are like something which are not, I mean, there's not so much interest in open source to build GUI tools because it's repetitive and not like, it's not so much fun to build like those graphical tools. And that's why I'm thinking Google Summer of Code might be something which would be worth it. I mean, if you guys want to help, we can totally do that. I guess, yeah, we could apply. We are like a large enough project. We got like some stars in GitHub. We got history, which is long enough. We got enough users so that maybe they will leave us in. So might be an option. Would be cool, actually. But then we would like have to create like a design document in advance, so how this editor should work, how it should export. But I guess like this would be isolated enough so that somebody not knowing MPF could be able to do that. So I actually like the idea, to be honest. So that, and we as a community, we could easily mentor and give feedback and so on. So let me just Google when Google Summer of Code is. Google Summer of Code. So when can we apply? Let's see. Apparently we're too late, right? Applications open January. Information, announced student application. So, okay, we could like do it next year. So we could apply for next year as an organization. And then we could probably submit like 3 projects. And then, yeah, students can actually, yeah, they can bid on a project or they apply for a project, and then we can choose a student per project. But I guess for our size, we can probably submit 3 projects, but they would maximally grant 1 for us, and then we would have to mentor the student. I guess they get like something. It's nice. They get like $2,000, I think, and as a mentor, you get also I think $1,000 or something, like with a Google credit card. You get actually a Google credit card and a T-shirt. A friend of mine did it, and he has this T-shirt, and he has I don't think it's golden, but he gets a Google credit card, which is cool. I want one too. And yeah, that's how that works. Maybe I will set a reminder for New Year's where we apply for this Google Summer of Code stuff. And so let's see. Yeah, looks like I think they changed the policy a little bit to leave to get in like smaller projects and not only the large ones. So I mean we're not like Order City sounds like a large project, but they also like 7 developers or something. That's not, and like there are hundreds of developers, and I guess most of those projects are rather small. So yeah, we might have a chance. I mean, Debian has more than we have. Oh, and from a German project. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, we can try, and all that can happen is that they reject us, and then we also lost nothing. Maybe we got some fame. So yeah, we will try that, and maybe we will get like a nice segment display animation tool out of it. But I mean, if any of you wants to develop it, that would be also welcome. So I guess I showed you all the stuff which I prepared. I can show you one more thing. That's basically how I did, like, that you can write some text in the chat and it will show here, because you somehow have to get like the text in here. And because I'm lazy, all I did is just create the show for it and used like show token to replace this text. That's always the easiest way to achieve that. And then I got like, I mean, if you write something test 2, you will see it's a different color, different animation, and test 3 is again a different color and different transition. And then I just use show player with like, you cannot really see the line yet. Yep. With like conditional variables based on a counter, which just counts the message, so 1 to 4, so that like I get a different count every time, and it cycles through the 4 players here. And that's the same I use like for this EMD here to show this on different locations and different colors. Yeah, and then basically in show tokens you can use placeholders which are then based on this event, and that's basically how I did this here, because currently like this is not like that you can use a placeholder here at the moment. That's also something we will probably be adding, but that's basically a workaround which works everywhere in MPF for everything, so that always works. If you do not want to think about it, that's the way to do it. And that's also what I did here, to put like dynamic stuff onto the display, which is calculated during runtime. Disadvantage of this is usually this is only validated at runtime, so if you mess it up, MPF might start and not complain, and when it happens, it will then crash out and complain that you did something wrong. And this might also happen in other places, but we try more and more to validate stuff at load time, when MPF loads, and we validate, for example, that you do not put like an option here like this, which is not valid here, and that we would reject that on load. But if you put this stuff here, like, we wouldn't reject it. So if you get like an invalid placeholder or something, that might only happen at runtime. But there's something you can also do with widgets or with like lights or with anything. It really works with everything. And yeah, that's what I did here. And this already showed you that stuff here. So now you know hopefully everything about segment displays, and probably more than you wanted to know. But sometimes I'm always curious about this stuff, to be honest. So, and that's why I'm excited to tell you. So unless you got any more questions or discussions, I would like wrap it up for today. Thank you all for joining in. Has been a pleasure for me. It's nice to have so much discussion here, and especially from all the guys which partially contributed to this code or conceptually or building hardware for it. So that's super nice and super helpful, and I'm always grateful for your feedback. So yeah, thanks for joining. Have a great weekend. Build some pinball. Have a great time, and hopefully see you soon on the stream, and maybe also in reality, like end of the year somewhere. I would really love that. So, Freezy, hi. You're also here, nice. So then have a great weekend, and see you soon.